All right, so I'm going to break down a couple different stats in this video. We're going to understand what it actually takes in terms of which platform, how much money you're spending, and how much of that money that you're spending turns into an actual lead. I think that a lot of the guys that I help and speak to, they either have no idea what to expect from their ad spend, or they just have these unrealistic, crazy expectations set from a younger marketing agency that they both lead to frustration, right? I think this video gives a real understanding of the actual math, right? So I'm going to pull up a report from a client just from a random month. So we're looking at March 1st to March 31st. So this is the amount of leads that they got. This is the amount of appointments that they got from those leads. This is the total ad spend and the total cost per lead. Right. So best way that I break it down is I have a calculator where we want to first budget out. Oh, my face is gone. Where's my face? All right, we don't need my face, but we want to break down ads spend per day, the average cost of that lead, how many leads does that equate to, right? And let's do an ad spend of let's say maybe $300 a day. I always like to round this up, maybe get a $50 cost per lead. We want to equate how many leads are we actually getting from that amount of ad spend based off of the cost. Remember, way that ads work, it's not like you're just transactionally saying, hey, I'm going to pay you $30 or $50 and out comes one lead. The way these ads work, depending on how skilled your marketer is or how good your marketing campaign is, you can pump out more leads with your ideal client based off of how engaging the ad is. More people clicking on it, commenting on it, right? You see a lot of even my ads where we're rage baiting people and there's just so many comments. And, obviously there's a time and place for that. I don't think that you necessarily have to run all your ads that way. I think operating at a frequency in which you're just representing your business the right way, people can get to see you, know you, understand you. They feel that, especially now. So going back to the topic, this is what you can expect in terms of how much ads that you want to be budgeting towards a campaign, what the actual cost of a legitimate lead is, finding that you're obviously having the right friction on these lead forms or landing pages, how many leads a month, right? And then like what we were talking about, your lead to estimate appointment percentage. 20% is pretty high. I mean, I would like to be somewhere around 15, 18%, depending on how good that lead is. And then just really how many appointments that we can book from those leads, along with what your run rate is. So out of all those leads that we get, how many of them actually end up showing, and how many are two-legged, how many are a real lead, a real person who isn't price shopping, isn't just expecting a $5,000 roof. How many of these are actually real leads? And then after we do the run rate calculation, it comes down to how many are we actually closing. Okay. So again, everyone, they have the same question. How much should I spend on ads? I think that's the wrong question. I think the right question is, what does a given budget actually produce to run one of these campaigns? And is that enough to hit the revenue goal that I set for myself? Okay. Inherently, what I see the best roofing contractors do is they know their numbers to a T, where they know this is what a 30 square shingle retail, residential, pitch is walkable, pretty straightforward job. This is what this gets me. And this is how much I'm paying to actually acquire that customer. Okay. Based off of the sales team, if we get in front of 30 or 40 or 50 additional homeowners who are super motivated for a new roof, what is my closer able to close with this being cold traffic? And what am I doing as a marketing team to make sure that I'm warming this up lead appropriately, so that when my salesperson or whoever shows up to the house, they already have familiarity on the brand and the trust is already there. Okay. So the first step is budgeting the right amount. You don't want to spend too little. If you spend too little, it actually forces the campaign to work a little bit harder, and not actually find the right person. I see way too many people optimizing for the wrong thing. They're optimizing for a cost per lead, when in reality, we need to be optimizing for one thing: motivation, intent, quality. The biggest challenge that I see most people make is, yes, they start optimizing for quantity of leads, and then they just start getting, they think more leads is the answer when it's really not. More bad leads. I mean, it seems like common sense, but that's really what hurts the business more than just like getting bad contact information. But it's just how hard is your team working to squeeze the juice out of the 30, 40 seconds of them actually calling that lead. Okay. So I would recommend spending, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grand on ads, to get started, right? So I'll pull up a random report, right? So in this report, you can see over the course of these 30 days, we got 204 leads. We got 47 appointments. Our cost per click, I always look at my cost per click. So my cost per click as a baseline, and I look at my click-through rate. So depending on how good my ads are, you'll get a good baseline of those things based off some of these numbers. And I'm always analyzing, how much does it cost me to send one of my top closers to an actual appointment? If it's costing me under $200 to send my top closer to an appointment, and they're closing, let's say, at 20% on cold traffic, which is not uncommon. Obviously, the price matters. We don't want to be setting a price too low. We want to make sure that it's right there where we are closing around 30%. But let's just say, for the math's sake, we are closing at 20%, or 1 out of 5, and it's costing us in ad spend $200 to send our top closer to that homeowner. That means it's actually costing us $1,000 to close one client, who in turn is netting us 3, 4, 5, 6 grand. Obviously, yes, I'm paying my commissions and all that other stuff, labor, materials, but that's a scalable model, right? I think that the most amount of roofers that I work with, we just focus on having, a 3x return on ad spend on the front end, and then we worry about the back end sales processes or upsells, whether it's gutters, siding, windows. But on the front end, if we are seeing more than 3-1 in our cash conversion cycle, that's the sweet spot. Okay, so the cost per lead does vary by market, right? A lead in Dallas is going to be different than a lead in rural Ohio. Okay, I think that for a legitimately good lead, I would say $50 to $80 is a realistic range, for roofing on Instagram or Meta right now. It's not, guaranteed, but these aren't like exact numbers. It's just, what is the, like, when you think about prospecting and you think about marketing, groups of people are flooding essentially to buy this attention. And where there's obviously more demand, the supply, or the price of that attention skyrockets. So as a marketer, especially in this day and age, you have to look at, where are people marketing the most, and how can I squeeze efficiency with my dollar. Okay, so I want to emphasize that these are leads, right? If we're getting 3,068 clicks at a 1.75% click-through rate, we're getting a $30.65 lead. I mean, if we're spending $6,200, we're going to get around 200 leads. 200 leads is a good baseline of what I can feed probably one person in terms of adding that inbound acquisition channel. Okay, if you are a team of, we have a guy, he has a team of 25 door knockers. He's in Florida chasing permits, chasing notice of commencements, and they work 7 days a week. His main acquisition channel is outbound, but what we're doing is we're using the inbound channel to incentivize his top performers and his door knockers, where they're not necessarily like stopping or holding back on the main flow. They're adding additional flow to build the culture of the sales team, to say, hey, Everyone, all the top performers from the week prior gets access to our hottest leads, the leads that we're paying tens of thousands of dollars for. And that drives the performance of not just the top people, but then it moves the middle. And then it really gives the bottom people a difficult excuse to say, oh, I'm just not performing. I'm holding it to an external reason, as opposed to them looking at themselves as bottom performers and just saying, hey, it's them who are doing things the wrong way. Okay. But when I look at a funnel, I'm inherently looking at line by line. I'm looking at what in that funnel is broken. Okay. The first thing that I'm looking at is cost per lead. What is my actual cost per lead? Obviously, we don't want this cost per lead to be exceeding a certain amount. That is what the biggest reason why so many people are unprofitable with marketing is because the cost per lead is just way too high if you account for all the people that didn't show, didn't answer, right? Wasted time. What is my actual cost per appointment? Then I'm looking at contact rate, right? If my cost per lead is very high, is my speed to lead there, like in the other videos? Am I contacting the lead enough? Am I reaching out to them 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times a day for the first week? Right? Do I have enough labor on the dials to make sure that this person actually ends up answering, to give myself the opportunity to set the appointment? Okay. Once I'm looking at contact rate being above a certain threshold, then I'm looking at the appointments out of all the people that I spoke to or my team spoke to, how many of them are actually getting set as an appointment? Okay. I call that lead to booking percentage, or some people call it appointment set rate. So we just need to make sure that our salesperson is setting the tone, doing the right thing, and actually booking the appointment once they answer. And the next part of the funnel I'm looking at is show rate. Out of all the appointments that my team has booked, are they actually showing? Did we go deep enough into discovery of the appointment, where was my salesperson just, kind of winging it and going through the motions and just saying, yeah, we'll come to your house. They don't really get a good understanding or extract pain. Then our show rate obviously dips down. We need this homeowner to know this is important. We got to take care of this, and we're the team that's going to be able to take care of this for you. That's what our salesperson, as our phone salesperson, is demonstrating on that call. Okay. And then obviously speed. If we can send that technician out that day or that hour, show rate obviously skyrockets. It's a race. We win on speed. And then obviously based off of all the leads, we want to make sure that all the ones that show, all the sits that we have, all the offers, how many are we actually closing and converting? Obviously, you have to remember that this is cold traffic, right? This is just one channel where I'm not expecting my top closers to close above 50% on this, like a referral. I'm expecting cold traffic to be exactly that, cold, right? So in order to win in the trust recession that we're in, we need really good salespeople who can build trust quickly, and we need a brand to be able to do that. Branding happens when people overcomplicate it. Branding doesn't necessarily mean high production videos. Branding doesn't mean having 1 million trucks on the road. It just means, do people see you? Do people trust you? Do people know you? These ads, as long as you have videos and you have the right ads playing, you will get the proper subconscious marketing that comes with spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to cut in front of the line, essentially, and have more people know who you are. Okay. So I think that in terms of monthly spend, I would want to be somewhere around, $6,000 minimum to get started. Depending on the market, you could start lower, but the more money we have to play with, the higher likelihood we can feed the campaign to actually get a conversion that is the right conversion. And then the way it works with these campaigns, once they find the right person and we optimize for that, it kind of finds the next wave of person off of that original person. The more money that you have, the more that we can feed the algorithm, the higher likelihood we have to be able to get the right people in front of you. And that's why so many people have issues with quality. Quality comes from how these campaigns are being optimized, not just the ad creatives, but how are they being optimized? What are we doing on the back end in order to configure the pixel, the conversions API, all these things to make sure that your campaign has the highest likelihood to find the right people. Okay. So a real insight, I think that two contractors can spend the exact same, maybe 15K a month, and get completely different results. I think one can close 11 jobs for $132,000 of top line revenue because their process is airtight. And then maybe the other one closes maybe they just close 4 at like 48 grand because they're slow, they don't follow up, or they're just getting the wrong people. And then once they get the wrong people, they're continuing to tell these platforms to keep trying to find the wrong people. And then it's just an ongoing cycle. Could be the same ad, same budget, same market, totally different outcome. So the budget doesn't necessarily determine your results. Remember that. Your process determines the results. The budget just determines the speed of getting that data, making decisions on that data, and it determines your volume. More volume doesn't always equal better results, okay? But tomorrow, I'm gonna go over why hiring your nephew or the 17-year-old who you found on Facebook to run your ads is probably the most expensive decision to make. I'm gonna go over maybe why you don't necessarily even need an agency depending on what level you're at right now. And then what I want you to do, I want you to subscribe, like the video, comment, keep watching, watch all the other videos that we have on here. I'm going to put a booking link. If you need help, if you want to have a conversation, this is what I do all day, every day. And I'm more than willing to guide you through this part of the journey of scaling your roofing company and doing what you do best, which is getting on more roofs, landing more contracts, landing more deals, and growing your sales team. Peace.